Good evening. My name is Calvin Harrell. I am the president of the Community Democratic Club, which is housed here in Vallejo and represents the entire county of Solano County. Tonight we have a forum, not a debate. It can be a debate if we'd like to make it that, but we have a forum to interview the candidates for supervisor in districts 1 and 2. Those two districts are unique to us. We have 3 candidates here. The candidates whose name placards are showing were all invited to attend. They are Democrats. One of the candidates is a non-committed candidate. She is a Democrat, so she was not eligible to be at this forum. One of the rules that we have as a Solano County Democratic Club is that we are only allowed to interview people that are declared as Democratic candidates. It is our mission as part of our organization to follow those guidelines. Tonight we're introducing, before we get started, I want to thank you for joining us, those here in the live audience and those online. Also, I'd like to recognize that we do have a number of the board members from the Community Democratic Club here in attendance, as well as online. Tonight I'm going to introduce our moderator for the evening, Tasha Johnson. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, President Harrell. Good evening, everyone. I thank the 3 of you for joining us tonight, taking time out of your busy schedules to come and talk to us. Thank you very much. And to the audience, my name is Tasha Johnson, and I thank you all for joining us this evening. On behalf of the Community Democratic Club, I would like to say thank you, welcome, and we're going to get started by allowing everyone to formally introduce themselves. And I will start with Ms. Cassandra James.
Just for clarification, you just want us to do a general introduction, or do you want us to go into our?
Give us an introduction of who you are and what you stand for, what your commitment is to the community.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. Before you start,
Yes,
thank you. Before you start, let me give you the ground rules, okay? My apologies. So the questions, you're going to have 2 minutes each to answer, and then the rebuttal, you'll have 1 minute. Okay, and we can begin whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Cassandra James, and yes, I am running for Solano County Board Supervisor, the 1st district, the only district that represents 1 city. I decided to enter this race because I believe it's time for Vallejo, Solano County, largest city, to finally unlock its potential. I want to bring, or will be aggressively talking about affordable housing and addressing our homelessness, and also affordable is relative to the Bay Area. Oh, that's 1 minute, that's fast. Okay, it's a different kind of forum. Oh, okay. No, okay. Excuse me. Can y'all explain the cards? But just to wrap it up, I really entered this race as a working mother who wants to bring professional background education to this county in order to make sure, in order for our county to catapult into the new century. Thank you.
Okay, so let me explain the cards. The yellow card means you have 30 seconds to conclude your comment. The red card is a hard stop. Got it? Okay, thanks. And Michael, we're gonna move over here to Rochelle and let her answer. And your turn.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Rochelle Sherlock. I have 30 years of community service experience and have started several dozen initiatives and collaborations and coalitions over my career because I really firmly believe that when we come together and we bring diverse perspectives together, we can accomplish great things. I am a what I stand for is I stand for engagement, I stand for participation, I stand for results. So for me, my professional background is I'm an organizational effectiveness consultant and a leadership strategist. And what that means is I work with leaders and boards and teams to become much more effective. I understand what it means to fulfill. If you want to have a mission and you want to fulfill that mission, I know that you actually have to have some targets that you're going to shoot for. The county is the safety net services. That means that they are the ones that provide substance abuse, addiction services, mental health services. Oops, and that's a stop. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Michael Wilson, running for Supervisor, District 1, representing Vallejo and all of Solano County. Grateful to all of you for coming out tonight. A lot of what I believe in is partnerships, forming partnerships and finding ways to work together, and I appreciate this partnership tonight between the Community Democratic Club and all of you members and officers of that club, and Pastor Jefferson and his community who welcome us into Rehoboth World Outreach Center. So thank you, Pastor, and for that partnership. I think it's an important way as we struggle in our community to find ways to work together in a partnership, not just among the elected officials, but between the community and the elected officials, between the city and the county, between the county and the state and the federal government, that we can find ways to come together to work towards solutions, solving problems that are affecting each and every one of us, problems of poverty, crime, hopelessness. We can do that together. I'm Michael Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you all. We appreciate the introductions into who you are and what you stand for. Before we get started with this evening's questions, I want to highlight that I'm not sure if the audience at home knows that your positions are actually salaried, that they are actually salaried at $100,000 or more. I'm bringing this up because as we talk tonight, I think that it's very important for the people here and the people outside to understand that this is more than just being elected, and that whoever is elected should be held very accountable. Do we all agree? Okay, let's get started. Homelessness. Mr. Wilson, I am going to start with you. Why is it that more Solano County citizens are homeless, and what do you think are the root causes?
Thank you. We all know homelessness is one of the biggest issues, certainly here in Vallejo and throughout California, and I'd say the nation also. There's so many causes of homelessness, but poverty is the number one. Lack of opportunity, lack of ability to get into a place, a house. One solution is to build homes, to have opportunity for people to begin into that process of living a life that has a door and a key and a place for your things. We need to work on that. We need to improve the housing opportunities in Vallejo and throughout the county. But we can't just build a bunch of houses and stick people in them. We need to give people the opportunity and help them to thrive. Some people find themselves in homelessness, maybe having mental health problems. That can be addressed with assistance. Some people are having addiction problems. That can be addressed through getting help and working through it. Some people just need a break. Some people need an opportunity to build their skills to get back into the workforce. All of those things are possible. At the county, we've dedicated millions of dollars through our ARPA funds and our regular operations to help people get back into work, to come out of homelessness. We're working hard on solutions, but we need to work harder. And it's not something that we can just do once and call it done. We need to come together as a community to find ways as employers come in to bring people not just off the streets and into out of homelessness, but through our churches, through everywhere, to invigorate and make sure we are working on this together. No longer can we just sweep people along and move them from one place to the other and say, here's a spot for you, and then now there's that spot over there. We need to come to solutions, and in 2 minutes, we can't find all those solutions, but I'm going to work hard on them in the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I am going to move over to Ms. James and ask you, what unique solutions would you provide for families who need support to have affordable housing?
When we're talking about affordability, that's a relative term in the Bay Area. If you're a family of four making $130,000 or less, you're considered living under the poverty limit. So one of the creative solutions that can bring forward is, one, eviction prevention. So before someone becomes homeless, we can strengthen our rental assistance and mortgage assistance programs. We have we're a part of a 9-county program, Season of Sharing, that provides rental and mortgage assistance. So the county could partner with that organization and agency in order to get the word out to other folks. In addition, is partnering with our Housing and Community Development Department on the state level. When we had Housing is Key dollars, our county did return dollars back to the state because we didn't utilize all of our dollars. So being creative and making sure that the dollars is accessible in each of the cities, and that our families, specifically we're talking about a county that is car dependent, can't always make it to Fairfield. So we need to make sure that we're partnering with each of the cities and also organizations within the cities, so that way they can work with the families on the ground level. In addition to that, it's also partnering with our schools, because oftentimes parents are scared to come forward when they have kids. But when you partner with the schools and have your social emotional learning counselors there, they'll be able to move some of those resources or provide resources, which is a safe way for families to be involved. Another creative solution, there's going to be a proposition on the ballot this upcoming November. It's the BAFA ballot, the Bay Area Housing Financial Agency. And it's going to raise $10 to $20 billion to build 80 affordable units. And again, when I say affordable, I'm talking about area medium income, and we need to be specific when we're talking about 30%, 60%, or 120% of the area medium income, instead of using a broad term like affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. I am going to move over to Dr. Sherlock, and I'm going to ask you, what support can county government provide for the city struggling with the growing presence of homeless encampments? What resources are or can be available?
Thank you so much. So first of all, I think one of the things that we have to look at is kind of going back to that first question around what is the root cause of people becoming homeless. And yes, well, it's true, some people have been priced out of the market. What we see is that they often will utilize the services that they can access to get them back on their feet. But we have to look at things like our former foster youth who actually emancipate out of foster care, but they have no place to go, and then there's a disproportionate number of them that end up on the streets. These are our youth, these are future. We also have to look at our veterans that often have post-traumatic stress disorder that end up on the streets. And then at Prop 47 back in 20, when they went ahead and passed Prop 47, they released a whole bunch of people that were in jails and prison into the community without a transition community from jail to community plan in place. Formerly incarcerated people are 10 times more likely to be homeless than anybody else. So we actually have to really be proactive in addressing those things. When you look at people that are homeless, probably 50 to 60, maybe even higher percentage of them actually have substance abuse issues and mental health issues. So we actually have to address this coming from multiple angles. To answer specifically around the city, so the County of Solano, the state of California actually had $200 million in grant funds to apply to help people move the unsheltered into a housing of some sort. Solano County did not apply for it. Solano County needs to be, and they were the only agency that could apply for it. The city could not apply for it. So basically the county let cities to fend for themselves, would not apply for the money because they didn't have greater than they claimed they didn't have capacity. That's what the county needs to do. The county's responsible for these fundamental services around mental health and behavioral health, and also applying for resources, and they need to see the cities as a partner in, and really lock arms and say, we're in this together, and together we can conquer this.
Thank you. I am going to move on and ask questions about the current crime rate that we have, particularly the city of Vallejo, but Solano County as a whole. I'm going to start with candidate James. What are the current crime trends that concern you most?
The current crime trends that concern me the most are our opportunity or poverty crimes. Because Vallejo is under the area median income in comparison to California and the rest of the Bay Area, we have a lot of people that do not make enough money in order to pay rent, eat food, or even get their kids to school. So oftentimes, what do you do if you're hungry, you have to pay rent, and you have to get your child to school? You're going to do whatever it is by any means necessary. So the poverty crime for me is the highest concern, because you're going to have an increase in break-ins, because we have an increase in unhoused, we have an increase in people not making enough money, and we don't have enough dollars and services to address what's happening and what's going on. The city just received Proposition 47 dollars, and they have 6 organizations that are working with some of our high-risk transitional age youth that are involved in some of these activities. And they were saying the reason why I did do this is because I knew the lights were off at home, or my mom didn't come home, or whatever the case may be. But there were reasons why they were involved in several different things. But the organizations don't have enough dollars and don't have the capacity to reach out to everyone within the community. In addition to opportunity crimes or poverty crimes, we also do not, I'm just seeing the sign being lifted, so thank you. So in addition to the poverty crime, it's also scaring our business owners, where they are fearful of not being able to conduct business during times, various times of the day. Also, it reaches out to our elderly residents as well, who have seen an increase in break-ins in their house. And then lastly, thank you.
Thank you. I am going to move this same question over to you, Dr. Sherlock. What are the current crime trends that concern you?
So I'm going to come back to Prop 47 again. So in 2014, Prop 47 actually lowered the penalties for crimes, meaning, and property crimes being the primary one. So it was like $960. They could walk away and it would be dropped from a felony to a misdemeanor. We actually saw a huge spike in property crimes occur after Prop 47. Prop 47 also reduced and removed the penalties for addiction, drug possession, selling, etc. And so what we see is when we see people going into stores, when we see people, and I understand that the slang is bipping, right, bopping into a window, grabbing something, breaking in, grabbing something and running. They're able to do that in large part because of these penalties have been lowered. I was speaking to someone who actually works with juvenile diversion. His name's Lejean. He also is active with youth here in Vallejo. And one of the things that he told me is that the youth say to him, there is no consequence. So why shouldn't I do this, right? Nobody's getting in trouble, nothing's happening. So some of the state, the early release programs, the Prop 47, some other policies that have come into play have basically made it so that law enforcement can't do their job. It's had an impact on the entire system. So if a felony was reduced to a misdemeanor and the district attorney is not going to prosecute, nobody's going to put them in jail or prison, there's no consequences, and there's no also any kind of services that are going to support people to get a job, build job skills, maybe deal with mental health or substance abuse issues, or connect them to the resources and services that they might need, then we continue to have an escalating problem. So we're going to have to address that. That's really key, and it's not going to stop until we address it that way. Let me just add to this. We absolutely have to have a thriving economy. We actually have to have jobs, because people need to have hope and opportunities. And so it's not just enough to actually increase the penalties again, to have consequences for those crimes. We need to make sure that there's opportunities available, and we need to make sure youth in Vallejo and youth in the county actually see those pathways for employment and a happy, successful life.
Nice, thank you for that. I'm going to ask a question, a rebuttal question to your remark about the kids feeling like there are no consequences. In a city where it has been widely announced and publicized that we don't have a police force to protect us, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's not just Solano County kids that are coming in pillaging, because if the whole world has now been told that there are no police officers, we can't just blame our kids because it's open season, right? Absolutely, you have a minute.
Yes. Oh, so just to speak to that real quick, what I mean is, because we're talking locally here, this is occurring throughout California. We see it all over the place, right? The state had to send in law enforcement into Oakland because of this, so it's not just locally here for our youth. But I have been told by local law enforcement officers that there's actually organized crime units that are sending people coming in. They'll drive in, they'll commit the crime, and then they'll leave. And so we have a lot of crime coming in from the outside. I was just mentioning, because the gentleman that was working with you said that they don't, so I was not implying that there was anything wrong with the youth itself. But
I
yeah.
understand.
No, thank you for the question.
Okay. Michael, I'd like for you to answer the same question. What are the current crime trends that concern you the most?
The biggest crime trend that's concerning me is the getting away with it. And as has been said, we have the lowest number of officers on the street today, and there aren't consequences for criminal behavior, whatever it is. Everything from running a red light to robbing a store. Vallejo's some of the most difficult time, I think, may be 1996 when the Mare Island base closed. The next very difficult time in our history was when the city went through bankruptcy. I was elected to the city council in 2007, and right after that in 2008, we realized that for a multitude of reasons, we'd need to go through bankruptcy. Went through very difficult several years and working on restructuring the city. Through that whole time that was extremely difficult, we had more police officers on the street than we do today. It's unacceptable that we don't have enough officers on the street, and it really falls at the feet of the Vallejo City Council. We can blame multiple people, we can blame the police department and all those, everyone has a role in it. But the council needs to be sure that we have, strong management in place, that we have a chief of police in place, and that we have officers doing the job that the citizens are asking them to do. We can get back to that. We can restore the safety of this community working together. In the meantime, the city is working to ask the county sheriff to help for a while, to send in officers to help us feel safe. Hopefully something like that can happen. As Dr. Sherlock mentioned, Oakland has the CHP coming in. That could also happen. It's happened before in Vallejo's history. But it's only one piece of the solution. Working with young people, as has been mentioned, through our school and early ages, working with families in the community, all that has to happen together. Police don't stop crime from happening. They bring consequences. When people know their consequences, that may stop some. But we need to stop the crime in our communities together and partner in those partnerships with the police and the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. And while you have your mic, Candidate Wilson, I am going to ask you, which cities within your jurisdiction are you most concerned with and why?
Vallejo. I'm most concerned with Vallejo. As Cassandra James mentioned, District 1 is the only district with one city in it, and if elected, we will represent all 7 cities in the unincorporated area of Solano County. But Vallejo needs help. We need a voice from Vallejo to the Board of Supervisors to ensure that all of our friends and neighbors and everyone who lives in the city of Vallejo is receiving the resources we need. 1 in 3 people in Solano County is receiving some sort of benefit through Solano County, some sort of assistance, some sort of help, some sort of opportunity. In Vallejo, it's 1 in 2 people. 1 in 2 people are receiving assistance, and we need to help those people and guide them and be a part of their life so that it doesn't get worse. We can't make outcomes worse. We need to come together to improve outcomes. So I'm very concerned about Vallejo. We have a great history. We're the largest city in the county. That could change, I guess. They're building all kinds of places. If this Flannery town comes out, it'd be the largest city of all the others combined. But Vallejo is a large city. It has a great history. We need to preserve our wonderful history and our great citizens working together. And I'll be a strong voice for Vallejo to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go over to Kennedy James and ask, as a county supervisor, what solutions would you bring forward to assist cities as they address root causes of crime in their cities?
Thank you for that question. It is actually part of my platform. So when we're talking about the root of crimes that's happening within the cities, it goes back to what we were just discussing in regards to opportunity crime and also property crime. So as a Board of Supervisor, it would be leveraging and working with, again, our state elected officials to grow Prop 47, because once Prop 47 was in place, it was to address the harsh criminalizations on Black and brown communities. So when we talk about Prop 47, it's partnering with our state legislator to make sure that there could be an increase in Prop 47, and also that it will be implemented and the city and county can apply for these dollars. So that way we can partner with our organizations here within the city. There are 6 organizations here in the city of Vallejo that just received these dollars, and they are working with our transitional age youth 16 to 24. My husband is the executive director of one of those organizations. So I see these kids and also adults that come and cycle throughout his door, and they're talking about how this program was able to save them from going back to committing another crime. So, and as a county supervisor, it's not only that, it's also partnering with organizations like Mom Demand Action, have a Vallejo chapter, advocated for AB 28, and these are violent intervention dollars. And for the county to apply for the dollars, and also partner with the city to design it so that way these programs are specific to what's the crime that's happening within our city. There has been an increase in crime throughout the Bay Area and throughout California, but it's unique to how it looks in Vallejo, and it's unique to those who live here that needs to be able to plan and move that forward, and making sure that I'm accessible and transparent throughout this process. It's not just me coming up with the solutions, it's the community that's coming up with it.
Thank you. Dr. Sherlock? I'm going to ask you, as a county supervisor, what solutions would you bring forward to assist cities as they address root causes of crime in their cities?
So I think first and foremost, we actually need to really focus on improving the economy here in Vallejo. If we have a thriving economy and we have good paying jobs, then we have opportunities not only for the youth, but also for the families, and we need to work on that. One of the things that I am proposing as a supervisor is I want to also make sure that I will bring in interns from the district, young people, and it can be kids from 16, as long as they're legal the age of working, to 24 or 28 who are interested in government. I want to make sure that they're getting exposed to opportunities that are out there and they see a world beyond maybe their immediate neighborhood. I think that's really important. I'd like to see Solano County do that. I'd love to see the cities also do that, where we begin to reach into our communities and recruit from our communities for government jobs. And the reason why that's really important is because if you live in the community, you grew up, you love the community. And then if you now are a professional and you can actually serve the community in some kind of role, you have all the community connections, and I think there's a lot of power there to solve a lot of the challenges and the issues. So I think the economy is going to be really key in that. Absolutely have to have pathways for youth. I think that's fundamental. They need to have career pathways, vocational pathways, trades pathways, college pathways. They need to see opportunities and not be just limited for so long the schools were just focusing on college. But you know what? Like my son, he's an electrical lineman. He floundered for a long time out of high school because academics was his thing, and it wasn't until, and the high schools didn't offer any trades. So we got to make sure that we're working on those things so that we're doing pre-prevention work in there. And then let me just speak real quick around the transition from jail to community. So I wrote a $6 million grant. I helped design a program that was transitioning people from jail into the community. It brought in a lot of partners. It created an equal roundtable board where everyone had a voice and perspective, and we coordinated and collaborated. We actually reduced recidivism rates from those by an independent evaluator out of UCLA, and we improved their overall well-being as assessed by a particular assessment for mental health, housing, financial security, et cetera.
Thank you. And while you have your mic, I'm going to ask you, which cities within your jurisdiction are you most concerned about and why?
I am most concerned about Vallejo, and I'm going to tell you that when I was walking precincts, I can't tell you how many people in Benicia and also in Fairfield are also concerned about Vallejo. There is a lot of crime in Fairfield. There's a lot of crime and homelessness there, but it's not at the same level. And I just feel like if we don't begin to really invest our resources and come together, both locking arms with the city, with the community leaders, with the state, with everyone that's willing to invest in the churches, the faith-based communities who are doing so much of the work anyway, trying to hold and support the community. If we don't come together and get alignment and agreement on what we're supposed to do, then we're not going to be able to solve this problem. And I've got a 30-year history of bringing people with disparate views and agendas to the table to identify what is the issue. Do we clearly agree on the definition of the issue? What is the solution? Do we clearly agree that that solution is going to move that needle and have an impact? Because what we see a lot in county and city activities and just general activities, we see activities. We see it looks like they're busy, right? Oh, I'm doing something. But is what you're doing having an impact? Because if not, we need to step back, and we need to implement continuous improvement processes, and we need to go why. And if there's a gap, we got to stop pointing fingers at one another. We have to say the county's responsible with the city and stop saying, oh, it's the city's fault, or it's not my fault, or it's the state's fault. Because there's a lot of that, and quite honestly, it's one of the things I want to bring to the county is somebody who says, listen, we are your partner, and we're not going to point fingers. We're going to say, how do we come up with solutions, and how do we fix it? Because we're going to have some mistakes and bumps along the way as we go forward. So I would definitely say the city of Vallejo. And I just wanted to do this real quick plug on the city of Vallejo. Vallejo is amazing, you guys. Vallejo is so amazing. I love the people. I love the creativity. I love the spirit. If you talk about, I facilitate meetings, and I would much rather work with a group of passionate people who seem a little bit unwieldy, right, like herding cats, because once you have energy can go in a direction. But if you have apathy, it's really hard to get a bunch of people that are apathetic or non-moving to move. So Vallejo's just incredible. I think we've got so much opportunity here.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I'm going to move over to candidate James. And can you tell us which cities within your jurisdiction are you most concerned about and why?
Of course, it will be Vallejo. So the first district is the only Board of Supervisors seat that represents one city. So this is an opportunity for us to partner with whoever will be the supervisor for District 2, because they represent a third of Vallejo, and first district represents 2/3 of Vallejo, including North Vallejo. The reason why Vallejo would be my focus is, and of course, I'm working with 4 other Board of Supervisors that represent county, but we're talking about Vallejo getting its fair share. We're talking about Vallejo unlocking its potential, and our county can't thrive if our city is not thriving. So my focus will always be Vallejo, and it will always be those who are most vulnerable in Vallejo, because with the increase in housing costs, with crime going up, we want to prevent further displacement and making sure that Vallejos can stay here. As giving birth to the next generation here in Vallejo, I want to make sure that my sons can grow up here, go to school, graduate from Vallejo, come back home, and be able to have good jobs, buy their own homes, and continue this legacy that we're starting here. So thank you so much.
Thank you all. I appreciate the answers. We are going to shift a little bit, and I'm going to talk to you all about the health disparities in Solano County. Candidate Sherlock, can you tell us what steps you will take to resolve the infant mortality and increased mortality rates of African American women in childbirth?
Absolutely. So I just want to state, first of all, I was a founding member of the Solano Commission for Women and Girls, and I was the first chair, and Elise Cheek and I were both on that group together. And the first thing that we did was we did a status report on girls throughout Solano County. And in that report, we identified the high Black infant and maternal mortality rate, and then the poor health outcomes for women of color, and particularly Black women. And at the same time, and I may have this a little bit confused, but there used to be a Black infant health program through the county, and I don't know if that continues to exist or not, but I think what we have to do is we have to raise issues and address those key challenges to address those health disparities. There's a lot of history that leads to this, and there's a lot of bias and prejudice that is included in this, and we have to address that on so many levels. And I think with the public health of the county department should be a leader in beginning to partner with the Black community and partner also with the Latinos and others who maybe don't have the same level of health access, and there's a lot of health disparities, but really partner with those communities to begin to build trust through trusted insiders such as Pastor Jefferson or others that are here in the room that already have those relationships, and stop trying to expect that somehow government's going to come in with the answers and we're going to overcome all of the historical abuses that have happened, because that does not happen overnight. So for me, it's about partnering with the trusted insiders who the community already trusts to begin to try to bridge those gaps and listen to them about what that's needed in order to address this. Because I think sometimes you get professionals coming in and they've got it in their mind, oh, there's this evidence-based practice, but they're not looking at current context and they're not looking at the history. And so we have to look at those things, and the only way we can do that is by talking to the community, hearing from them what works, hearing from them what the challenges are and gaps and the barriers that continue to exist, and beginning to address them on a system level from the county side.
Candidate Wilson, health disparities were illuminated during the COVID-19 pandemic. Which health disparities concerned you most?
Every health disparity concerns me most. Certainly what Dr. Sherlock was just talking about with maternal and infant health is a huge priority, and one of the 8 priorities of our Solano County Community Health Improvement Program. In 2017, the group Solano Heals formed, and that is the organization, I think, that in a sense follows Black Infant Health. But Solano Heals is to promote equity and healthy births for Black babies and their families in Solano County, with a vision that all Black mothers, babies, families thrive through empowerment and well-being, well-informed in their community, family, and personal health choices. That's a start, but our community health impacts need to flow throughout every aspect, from economic security. If you're hungry and not able to live a healthy life, that's going to be difficult. Not having housing, access to care, education, violence and injury prevention, behavioral health, mental health, and healthy eating. All of these come together to form the important impacts, and we need to weave those together so that we have a healthy community. One aspect of that is addressing early childhood adverse childhood experiences called ACEs, to help young families start that young person from as a baby through life with positive experiences. One opportunity we've done working with Supervisor Hannigan is opening the First 5 Center off Sonoma Boulevard in Val Vista next to Dee Dee's Discount, where young families can go and begin learning about raising that person from birth to 5 years old. Working on other opportunities, we need to start with them at the youngest, ensure that they have positive outcomes, and work with everyone in the community to address every disparity. Thank you. Tasha.
James, I would like to know, why is it that there are such disparate health outcomes for Black and brown communities? What solutions would you offer as a county supervisor?
Kaiser did a community health needs assessment, and they conducted this health assessment in 2022. And it talked about the various health outcomes or disparities for specifically Black and brown communities, and was connected to economic security, it was connected to safety, also connected to housing insecurity as well. In addition to that, it was also about accessibility. A lot of times the county or government will implement programs per se, but then it will be hard for specifically time poor and communities that do not have resources to access those services. For example, the Early Child Care Center, I'm a mother to a 3-year-old, and if I have to tell you how many times I have given my neighbor a ride there because she didn't have access, no other way to get there. So when we're talking about implementing programs, or excuse me, health disparities, it's in regards to the accessibility to some of these programs. In addition to that, we have to talk about the economic security specifically for Black and brown communities, because when you do not have the economics or the dollars to actually be able to purchase or attend or even be able to live in your house, it shortens your lifespan as well. Kaiser also stated that specifically here in Solano County, that the city of Vallejo nor Solano County fund Black-led or brown-led organizations adequately. So you do not have that reflective representation to provide services within the community. And that way, people do not trust programs that are being rendered into communities as well. Lastly, just in regards to housing, that takes up a significant wealth. Thank you.
Thank you all. While you have your mic, I'm going to ask you, what are your successes in Solano County? How do you quantify those successes?
Ooh, the list could go on for successes. I would say first and foremost, I always say this: I've given birth to the next generation of Solano County and in Vallejo, and I'm so proud of my babies being Vallejo natives. And also another success is I have co-facilitated the Racial Equity Action Group for the county's continuum of care, and expanded the way that we look at homelessness and affordability for how we render and also how we provide services. Specifically here in Vallejo, I am proud to support my husband, who has an organization that works with formerly incarcerated individuals and is housed right here in North Vallejo, and provides mobile case management to those who are formerly incarcerated. In addition, have brought in Moms Demand Action to this region to talk about gun sense policies in our area. With that, I am the vice president of BWAPA, Black Women Organized for Political Action, where we are educating and talking to communities around what are the issues specifically for the Black community here in this organization, while also creating a pathway for Black women to be involved and allies to be involved in community. I also sit on the Housing and Community Development Commission, where I was the vice chair, and I'm super proud of the fact that we have pushed them to communicate with our city in the 3 threshold languages: English, Spanish, and Tagalog. How I measure success is that build a coalition of people where people who normally would not have gotten involved, people who normally do not look like majority of our leaders here in the city and or our county, are getting involved and are asking the hard questions. Also, I quantify that success in moving some of these policies forward. With Moms Demand Action, we did get AB 28 approved, and Vallejo will be one of the first cities it looks at. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Sherlock, what are your successes in Solano County, and how do you quantify these successes?
Okay, so it's an incredibly long list. So I was a co-founder of the Senior Coalition of Solano County. I actually started the first fall prevention partnership to address senior-related falls because it's the #1 cause of senior-related injury and injury-related deaths. Secured the first funds for that because the county wasn't focusing on that at the time, and that was something that I championed. I started the mini medical school, Aging with Vitality, and Barbara here was one of our fans. She asked me to bring it back. We actually received the California State Association of Counties Merit Award as a result of that effort, and it was a multiple thing that it actually it increased health outcomes. Some of the work that we did around State of Seniors, it was position papers, and as a result of that, we now have Volunteer Solano, which is actually funded by the County of Solano to increase volunteer opportunities so people could be engaged to support and build the capacity of the community. Solano Cares, which is the network of care, they did not have a senior portal at the time, and we took a lead in leading that, and it's currently still active. The Elder Justice Forum was another advocacy that we got started with the District Attorney's Office through our advocacy, and that continues. Senior poverty work, did a senior multiple senior poverty summits, actually did a video. It was taken to the federal government and to the state, and as a result of that, then Assembly Member Cheryl Brown moved to approve or put together a bill to increase the SSI, SSDI. I am the Commissioner, Solano Commission for Women and Girls. We did the status report. I was a founding member of 100 Women Who Care. I was on the Measure P Oversight Committee for like 7, 8 years, and I was the chair for about 4. I started the Green Valley Fire Safe Council, the very first Fire Safe Council in Solano County, because at the time there were people from the dais that were saying that the county is not in the fire business, and I knew we were going to have catastrophic wildfire here, so I started that. I've brought in over $1.5 million in grants to reduce wildfire risks in the county, and I've helped groups throughout the county in doing presentations on reducing their wildfire risks. I also, that transition from jail to community, that $6 million that I mentioned earlier, had incredible outcomes, including reducing recidivism. I can go on and on and on. I'm very action-oriented. Stop, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you for that. Candidate Wilson, you're up. What are your successes in Solano County, and how do you quantify those successes?
Thank you. As you know, I've been Supervisor Erin Hannigan's district representative for the past 11 years, and shortly after her taking office, like we meet with many people and try to solve problems, work on solutions. We're sitting down with the Tribal Council of the Yochadihi Winton Nation, the tribe that operates Cache Creek Casino and claims Solano County as they are the most likely descendants, having their ancestors having lived here in Vallejo and throughout the county. And we were talking to them, and they, are great philanthropists. They're wonderful people, and they do so much good work. They were talking about the good work they were doing, and they were supporting this YOLO team and this other Davis thing. We're like, how about Solano County? Oh, we're doing some. How about more? And we worked directly by talking to them, developing that partnership, and since then they've supported the county with $1 million a year. We're just approved for nearly the $8 million of help to Solano County. These services, which I directly oversee, help fill the gaps so no one falls into the gaps. Everything from helping people with their basic needs. Sometimes we just need a little help. If we missed work and didn't get paid, we're $500 behind, unable to have everything together for rent. That money is available to residents in Vallejo and throughout Solano County. Here in Vallejo, it's through the Fighting Back Partnership. That partnership is very important. It goes to everything. The First Five Center, helping young families, has helped fund the Early Learning Center, which will be opening at the old Beverly Hills School, providing 200 child care slots to families in Vallejo and throughout Solano County. And as I close, one other great accomplishment that I really enjoy, many of you have seen me out there, serving as an auctioneer, helping our nonprofits raise money. I look forward to continuing that work and supporting every nonprofit here in Vallejo. Thank you.
Thank you. I am going to move over here to Candidate Sherlock. Can you please tell us, what does economic development mean to you?
So economic development means that we will create opportunities for businesses that exist here to stay here, so we need business retention. We also need an opportunity for those businesses to thrive and to continue to grow their revenue and to continue to have a positive outreach. It also means attracting businesses that will bring high-paying jobs into the county. And so we need to do that. There that have been in our way. There's one of the things that we can do is we can remove administrative barriers, and I think that the city should be working on that. The county should be working on that as well, because in order to be able to apply for a business license and a permit and all the things that you need to do, that can take a protracted period of time, which then makes it very difficult for businesses to be successful. We also need to do things like address the homelessness issue and the crime issue for the brick and mortar. We have a lot of really great businesses. I mean, downtown Vallejo, look at the amazing restaurants and different businesses and things that are here in Vallejo, but they struggle because a lot of the crime and the homelessness and the blight and people not feeling safe. So we've got to begin to address some of those things so that they can thrive. They can increase the number of the patrons that can come and the clients that can come and customers that can come, so that they can increase the revenue and even and have more and hire more jobs. But some of the other things are that we don't have the power infrastructure in certain places. So in our industrial and commercial parks that currently exist, there was an opportunity in the city of Fairfield. I know it doesn't apply here, but I'm sure there's similar examples. It was an opportunity for a big company to come into Fairfield. The problem was they did not have the power to fuel their operations and power their operations. Apparently, they tried hanging out for 2 years, hoping that somehow the county and the city was going to get the power for them to be able to set up shop here. We've missed that opportunity. So I think when we think about economic development, it's about retention. It's about helping local businesses, small and large, thrive so that they can increase their hiring. We can increase revenue that'll go to local government like cities and county, and then also making sure that we have ways to attract big business as well.
Thank you. I am going to go over to candidate James. Can you tell us what role you will play as a county supervisor in ensuring that all citizens have opportunities to make a living wage in Solano County?
That is a multi-solution, and 2 minutes wouldn't even be enough to go down the list. But something that I can do as county supervisor to make sure that everyone has a living wage is one, is joining the counties of guaranteed income. We need to make sure that everyone here has an income floor, and that they have something that they can stand on in order to participate in our county in whichever way. Outside of the guaranteed income, it would also be leveraging Vallejo's cultural and historical assets to boost tourism, and what Rochelle said, or Dr. Rochelle was talking about, being able to bring in businesses here while also sustaining some of our smaller businesses, and that is making sure that we have a relationship with the other counties. We are a part of the Greater Bay Area, and we have access to some of the richest resources here, but oftentimes Solano County is in a silo, and people tend to drive through our county versus coming in and visiting our county. So it's changing the narrative of what Solano County can offer, what Vallejo has to offer. And when I'm talking about the tourism, what comes to mind is over the next 5 to 10 years, there are going to be several multi-billion-dollar events that will be taking place in the Bay Area. From the Super Bowl to FIFA to All-Star, that's the NBA that we just watched over the weekend, it will be at the Chase Center. What's the one thing that connects to the Chase Center is ferry. So we need to make sure that Solano County and Vallejo will be the affordable alternative, and that is working with other cities and counties to make sure they are aware that Solano is here, and that we to partake in those conversations. We want to work here, and we want to bring those businesses here, and that's boosting our hospitality, which is suffering. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wilson, unemployment, underemployment, and the lack of living wage jobs in Solano County is a major barrier to economic security for young Black adults who want to live successful lives. What is your plan for economic growth for our region so that our young adults can work and raise their families in Solano County?
Yes, thank you. We definitely need opportunity and economic growth. And as each person receives opportunity, our community grows with opportunity. One help that we've done at the county and was funded again through this Yochadehi program I talked about was through our libraries. We offer a career online high school program, so people can receive their high school degree to begin to have a that opportunity door begin to open, to have stronger partnerships with Solano Community College, which has a campus right here in Vallejo, Cal Maritime, and Touro University, to have people realize that that opportunity is there for them to grow in jobs that exist already here. Some of the largest employers right here in Vallejo are Kaiser and Sutter, and those jobs are ready at Touro. And even Cal Maritime, it's not just about driving a ship, but you can run a facility with your degree from Cal Maritime. But we also need more places to work, more things to do in this town, and that's why I'm so committed to redeveloping the Solano County Fairgrounds with not just restaurants and walking spaces, though we definitely want those, and those are some good jobs, but also with other employers, with flexible space so entertainment employers can start coming in, with maybe a movie studio or digital creation space that other major employers can come into that county fairgrounds, and we will get that developed. Like many things in our town, it's dragged and gone so slow, and working in partnerships is something I love, but sometimes with a lot of partners, it can slow things down. But we will get that done and have a space for business incubation. That business may even be a restaurant. It could be a carved out space with a backbone of a restaurant. A new young entrepreneurial cook, chef could come in, start that, and then spin off their restaurant somewhere else in Vallejo around the site. Calvin just got the nudge. Here comes the bell.
Thank you for that. So this next question I am going to pose to the three of you. And it is, the CDC was formed to educate and engage the Black community on issues of importance to our community. Name 5 of your top endorsements from Black organizations or individuals, and I'll start with you, Kennedy Sherlock.
5 endorsements?
Yes, ma'am.
So, sorry, because it's just like kind of not on the top of my mind. So I am endorsed by Mayor Pro Tem Princess Washington from the city of Sassoon. And are you just looking for Black communities, Black leaders? Okay.
That's the question.
Yeah, and I think that's just not something I'm paying a lot of, I'm just trying to run through my mind right now. I think that might be it. I interviewed both with the Solano County Black Chamber. They chose not to make a recommendation this time for endorsements before the primary. And the groups that I've been in front of, so yeah, I think it would be Princess Washington.
Okay, candidate James, can you name 5?
My 5 biggest endorsements from the Black community is State Controller Malia Cohen, the Solano Napa chapter of Black Women Organized for Political Action, Solano County Supervisor Wanda Williams, former Vice Mayor Foster Hicks, and former school board member Mr. Tony Gross.
Thank you. And candidate Wilson, can you give us 5?
Yes, and I appreciate the work of the CDC, and it's a very important community. I hate to restrict and say, this is a Black person, Black organization that's endorsing me, and this isn't, but I will, because it's the question. The Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce has endorsed my campaign. I was proud to serve as vice mayor under Mayor Osby Davis, and Osby Davis, former mayor, has endorsed my campaign. A young man named Sir Christopher Gordon, I'm very proud of his endorsement. His mother is Commissioner Gordon, not of the Batman fame. A. Marie Young and Tara Beasley has endorsed my campaign, and many other people throughout the Black community and throughout the Latino community and every other community, that the Asian and the white communities, everyone. So I look forward to inviting everyone to endorse me, to support my campaign, and to join those and others endorsing me. Thank you.
Absolutely, come on.
My apologies, because it's just not where my brain was. My brain's on issues. So I also have Sergeant Major Jesse Branch. We're very good friends. He's very active in the military as a Marine. And then I have Antoine Terrell, who is a business owner here with Terrell Trucking. He and I have been very good friends for a number of years. And then Gethsemane Moss, who is with the Benicia Unified School District Board as well.
You have your mic. Go ahead and keep it, because I'm going to ask you, what is the current status of the city centers or downtown areas in the cities over which you will have jurisdiction? What will you do to assist cities as they revitalize their downtown areas?
Okay, thank you so much. So I think all of the cities, so there's 3 cities that I represent in District 2. So it's the city of Fairfield, it's the city of Benicia, and the city of Vallejo. Even the city of Benicia, you would think that it's doing better, but it still struggles to actually have enough traffic there to support the small businesses. They also encounter some challenges regarding those administrative barriers that I was talking about, not getting the permitting processes. And so there's a lot of things the government can do that gets in the way. But I want to set that one aside. Downtown Fairfield, they've got a Heart of Fairfield plan that they're trying to work. I've participated in some of their workshops and benefits for that. Also then with downtown Vallejo, I have facilitated meetings. Both I facilitated meetings pro bono with the Vallejo Chamber, and then also with Downtown Main Street Association, Main Street, thank you, to try to support them in their strategic planning. I have done a tremendous amount of, I do a lot of capacity building, so I've done a tremendous amount of strategic planning for like the Hispanic Chamber and other chambers and organizations to support businesses. And then I've also been available for executive coaching for those things. But ultimately, coming back to what I said before, is we actually have to make sure that we're addressing homelessness, we have to address the crime, and then we actually have to foster economic development so that we can have, if we have higher paying jobs, that means they're going to go to the restaurants, they're going to go to the shops, they're going to go to the entertainment, right? And this is all interconnected, so we have to think about it as a system and address all the elements of the system in order for us to really have thriving downtowns. And let me just say to this, the number one question that I get asked is around California Forever. And I am more interested in investing in our current downtowns than I am in building a 8th city. We have a lot of vacant buildings that can be rehabbed and revitalized and utilized in some capacity or another. And so I'm really for doing those kinds of things and investing so we can have thriving businesses.
Thank you. Okay, another question that I'm going to pose to the 3 of you. California must build 3.5 million housing units by 2025 to end the state's housing shortage. The shortage has resulted in higher rents, closed access to home ownership for many families, and forced many to flee the state. In your capacity, name all the ways you will address this issue for Solano County. And I'm going to go with candidate Wilson.
Well, I don't think we can fit 3.5 units here, 3.5 million units all right here in Solano County, but we'll do our fair share, and I'll work hard to ensure that we have housing throughout the county, not just all in one place in eastern Solano County, but that we build wonderful, beautiful, a wide range of housing here in Vallejo and in all the cities and unincorporated part of the county. One way we can help is with Prop 1 coming up on this ballot in March to help us begin this process of building the needed housing throughout the state of California. But we can also work here in Vallejo of improving the housing stock we have. And I think we should help people to continue to fix up their homes, to have opportunities to improve where they live right now. And those might be opportunities we can have from the county. We'll have housing opportunities, and there are housing opportunities approved throughout Vallejo, still unbuilt on Mare Island and on the Benicia end of Vallejo that houses can be built. We're looking at increasing the housing production on the Solano County Fairgrounds. I don't think that location should just be packed with a whole bunch of stacks of housing, but to have some housing mixed in with those economic opportunities I talked about. I think that mix of housing, even in this Mystery City talked about in eastern Solano County, they're talking about a mix of housing and businesses and schools. I think that's what we need, a mix of housing. Many people, as you walk around Vallejo, you know, and especially as you get right on the streets, not just driving by, you see that for hundreds of years, Vallejo had a mix of housing. There's an apartment complex there, there's a house there, there's a school, there's a little corner store. We can return to that community spirit, cleaning up and finding lots of empty lots and opportunities to build housing right here in Vallejo and Solano County. Thank you.
Can you repeat your question, please? Thank you.
California must build 3.5 million housing units by 2025 to end the state housing shortage. The shortage has resulted in higher rents, closed access to home ownership for many families, and forced many to flee the state. In your capacity, name all the ways you will address this issue for Solano County.
Ooh, housing is such a big issue that we will not be able to get it all done within the first 4 years of my first term. But when we're talking about housing, the first thing is our county needs to get its housing element plan approved. Right now, it's still under review, and we don't even know how many housing units need to be built here within this specific county. In addition, Vallejo housing element plan needs to be approved as well. We know that it's going to be rejected because there was some inequities that were found in how many or where housing will be built and how and how they will be affordable to our residents here. And in addition to the housing element plan, it will also be making sure that we have transit-oriented housing and accessible communities. So making sure that we are building mixed income housing, so that is first floor would be a business or a storefront, and then you could build up, and that will be affordable according to your area medium income. It's partnering also with our housing authorities at the county level and also at the city level to make sure that our veterans have access to the vouchers for supportable housing, and also that our own Vallejo is opening up their Section 8 list or housing voucher list tomorrow, but is educating our landlords and property owners about what that program is, because there's often a negative stigmatization in regards to that program. In addition to also, it will really be working with the regional housing plan, All Home. We have a representative from each of the counties and cities in the Bay Area, and they have a housing action plan in regards to how to build more affordable or permanent housing. And lastly, it is rehabbing some of the homes that we have. There are a lot of vacancies, and we can rehab those buildings so that they could be livable.
Thank you so much. We are going to come with the final question, the final two questions of the evening, okay? I know, but I was told the final two questions. So I'm going to ask this of all three of you. The Sheriff's Office oversight. Given recent concerns about excessive force within the Solano County Sheriff's Office, would you support the creation of a citizen oversight committee for the department? How do you envision law enforcement officers engaging with the community, and what reforms would you advocate for? Kennedy James, let's start with you.
Thank you. As I was getting my notes together, this is an automatic yes for me. So yes, we do need to have a citizen oversight committee for our sheriff's department. And what had came to mind was supporting 21st century policing and ensuring that our sheriff's department is culturally competent. We are a diverse county, and one of the most diverse counties in the region and throughout the country. So we need to have a culturally competent sheriff's department, and that does include having a citizen oversight committee where we're dedicated to community policing and ensuring that specifically those who are most harmed by our sheriff's department have access to providing not only the feedback but also the training to those officers, and having the sheriff's department partner with some of our organizations that specifically work with those who are on the ground in communities that are often under-resourced and historically excluded. And in addition to that, it is also, there was a plan specifically here in Vallejo when our former chief, Shawnee Williams, was here, and it was regards to our reforms, but there was also a 8 Can't Wait campaign where there were 8 specific things to reduce harm caused by our sheriffs and police department. And it was comprehensive community safety and abolishing like practices such as chokeholds as well. And we have to be open and honest about what's happening within the sheriff's department, or what did happen in the sheriff's department with the 3 percenters. We cannot move forward if we're not willing to acknowledge the harm that was done within the sheriff department, and we can't bypass it as well. So that is bringing our sheriff's department and elected officials and community together to have that hard conversation.
Thank you. The Solano County Sheriff is elected by us, the residents of Solano County, as are the members of the Board of Supervisors who work with the sheriff and oversee the budget and all the county employees through our HR department and our regular works. I do not think we need an unelected group of appointed people to oversee the Solano County Sheriff and his department. I think we need to have our elected representatives on the Board of Supervisors, and of course our state representatives who determine laws that govern people who are public safety officers. And we need to ensure that all of our employees, all of our officers, our Solano County deputies, and those working in custody, all the public safety at the county are following the laws and treating all people equally. If we need to improve that, that decision should be coming from the Board of Supervisors to improve training, to improve requirements, laws, regulations, and to ensure that those things are followed, that we don't have problems in the public safety at Solano County. So I agree that we need to partner with other community organizations and nonprofits, both helping people in jail and in probation to reduce recidivism, and I think we are doing a lot of those partnerships. And yes, we can improve that, and I hope that we will improve that and improve outcomes and reduce recidivism, both of in our county jails and of people going through probation. So it's a very important element, and just because I don't think we should add a level of bureaucracy does not mean it's not very important to me that we have officers that are treating everyone in our community equally and with the dignity they deserve.
Thank you. Candidate Sherlock?
Well, let me just be clear right off the front. Under no circumstances should there ever be in any department, whether it's law enforcement or county or any government entity or even private entity, in my opinion, where there's any level of bias or abuse, misuse, unethical treatment, criminal treatment, assault, murder, and none of that should ever happen. Let me just say that first and foremost. But the thing that comes up for me on this a little bit is, first of all, is I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I have a son-in-law who works for the Sacramento deputies. He's a deputy with the Sacramento Sheriff. I know that he puts his life on the line every day he goes out there, and I know that excessive force, and because I don't know the nuances of what you're referring to, sometimes excessive force when you're under a lot of duress in the moment is you trying to protect yourself to come home alive. One of his buddies that he trained with, that he worked with, was actually killed in the line of duty. And as a result of being his mother-in-law, I also see and have been aware of a lot of law enforcement officers that have lost their lives or been harmed in the line of duty. And I think it's such a complex, complicated issue. I want to restate what I said at the beginning. Under no circumstances should anything that's unethical, abuse, misuse, excessive force. I just think that when we have these conversations, that sometimes we're having these conversations as citizens and not necessarily understanding the full dynamics of what's happening off in the field. So with that, I would say that, first of all, with the sheriff being elected a position, if you don't like him, we need to vote him out. I mean, that's really the way it goes, right? So we got to vote people out. If you don't like them, you don't like the way they're performing. I think that's one of the ways to deal with it. I would need to do a lot more research before I would feel comfortable saying that there needed to be a citizen's oversight. And I think that we all need to do a lot more research and understanding the dynamics that are often at play so that we can make sure our communities are safe, but that our local law enforcement also are able to come home to their families.
Thank you very much. Last question on the table before we move to questions and answers is the cannabis business expansion. The Board of Supervisors has banned cannabis businesses in unincorporated parts of the county. Do you support the expansion of cannabis businesses, considering the legalization of dispensaries in many cities? And we'll go ahead and start with you, Kennedy Sherlock.
You said they've banned it?
That's what I'm being told.
So in my work, I've actually worked a lot with small ranchers, farmers, people that live in unincorporated areas and big lots of land, and part of that is because of the wildfire stuff that I've done, because it directly impacts that. Part of that is just because I'm involved in a lot of different things that are going on. I know that some of the cannabis programs and growers, one, it stinks. There's crime that comes out there as well. So people will actually come onto the property. They'll trespass somebody else's property to go ahead and try to steal whatever is being grown out there in some of the unincorporated areas. There are actually residents in our county who no longer feel safe because there's a grower that's growing stuff and they're having a criminal element that's coming in. So for me, public safety and health is paramount in all situations, and I think that always has to be weighed and put before economic benefits. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of that banning of the expansion of cannabis out into the unincorporated areas, but if my assumption is, if I'm operating with the assumption that's around growing, and if it's bringing a criminal element and it's increasing the risk that's happening to our communities, then I would not support that continued growth.
Kennedy James?
I would have to look at the reasons why it was banned here in Solano County for the unincorporated areas. But as I was sitting here, I was reading over, there is a California Department of Cannabis Control, and there were dollars released to counties for the expansion of this and to decriminalize what cannabis within counties. So, but for me, I would have to research it more. I don't want to sit here and say what my plan would be in regards to it, but this is a perfect opportunity again for this county to partner with the State Department to see how it will look in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Kennedy Wilson?
I don't think the county should be pulling businesses from the city into the county itself. The city of Vallejo has been at the forefront of retail cannabis sales, both in, early on in medical sales and then recreational. And even some of our local cannabis retail outlets are suffering by some other mega stores coming into town, and opportunity lost to those local businesses. I don't think the county should enter into a competition with our cities, that the cities should be allowed to thrive with this, with retail cannabis and even other businesses we look at. The county has great opportunities, especially in agricultural businesses. If you haven't been up to Sassoon Valley to see our growing wine country that we have right here in Solano County, I encourage you to do so. It's been a long time, it's been there a long time, and there's a lot of great families who have been there for decades and decades in Solano County, but it's continued to grow. So I think the cannabis, while some aspects of the cannabis industry are allowed in Solano County, the retail piece, I think, belongs in the cities where people are doing their shopping and those opportunities, and that sales tax, which is so greatly needed, especially here in Vallejo, should remain in the cities for that.
Thank you all. Can we get a round of applause for our candidates this evening? They answered, they showed up, they answered, we thank you. We're gonna take questions now. We'll take questions from the live audience, and we'll take questions from those of you at home. If there is anyone in the live audience who has a question, we can start with you.
Testing.
Thank you.
It's late and I'm getting a little tired, so it might not sound as eloquent, but the concept is eloquent. And that's especially with the huge awareness of excessive use of force in police. And I remember a police officer told me once that, I said, what do you do? I said, I'm a social worker. He said, oh, I am too. I work for the police. That there's a huge component of mental health treatment in the police day-to-day work with domestic violence and substance abuse. One of my good friends, she's an Asian person, but her son was a 20-year-old with severe psychotic illness and was killed by police because very few intervention skills. So I don't know how to ask the question, but there should be much more attention given to the mental health treatment aspects and how the county is the main provider of mental health services can, I know, I've read about it, but it's not coming up, like ride-alongs or being able to 24-hour access to get emergency mental health treatments instead of putting that job on police when they're totally not trained for the kinds of needs that come up. And I'm sorry I'm not being more eloquent, but I think you get the idea.
Go ahead.
So maybe quickly, all of you, if you can.
Yeah, I would love to tackle that, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, Barbara. So, yes, our law enforcement are dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and part of what's happening is even family members, when they don't know what to do and there's somebody that has a severe mental health crisis, and let's say they're acting psychotic and crazy, they don't know what to do, and so they end up calling the police, and then the police come out. So what we do have is we have a mobile crisis unit that needs to be further funded, and the goal of the mobile crisis units are to have somebody, somebody that is a psychologist and understands mental health issues, as well as somebody that has lived experience. And the lived experience is to form that connection, and so there's that peer comfort, and to really speak to people. And so they go out in teams, they respond, and then they try to talk the individual down, try to assess the need, determine whether or not they need a 5150 or not. We need to expand that program. The program has been pretty limited. It was only operating from like a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and of course we know mental health crises exist all kinds of times. So it needs to be expanded, it needs to be on non-traditional hours, and there needs to be, I think we really need to have more conversation about all the gaps that exist, because law enforcement gets called for a lot of things that have nothing to do with the law, but because people don't know what to do. And so, as one example, they can't even go inside a house. If somebody's threatening to kill themselves inside the house, they're gonna ask them to come outside, because they won't, because of this excessive, I mean, there's just a lot of boundaries that now make it more challenging in this, but I think we gotta deal with the mental health issues, and we gotta have it with the appropriate professionals to do that, so. And there is a program, it just needs to be expanded.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara, for bringing up that topic. It's a very important one. Mental health, removing the stigma of that in the whole world in our live stream is so important. But specifically, as you spoke, mental health as it relates in police calls, because people are like, this person's acting up, you know, we need to get someone out here. Then we have officers and firefighters and ambulances coming out, and that can make the situation worse. And the county has been partnered with every police department in Solano County with this mobile crisis team that Dr. Sherlock was talking about. But Vallejo is going to wait. We got to do our own thing. You know, let's figure out the plan as we get to it. But I'm happy to say that starting February 1st, it has begun in Vallejo, and we do have that opportunity still at a limited time schedule, but looking forward to expanding that to 24/7, because mental health crises don't happen on schedule. That's a very important component. But also engaging the community to know what resources are available. My friend and coworker Josette and I were just out and talking to a pastor, met with someone in a mental health crisis, and were able to give resources and help them and to help the pastor's staff have those resources. So it's about spreading the news and making sure we can help people where they are. And sometimes the people who first go out as helpers aren't, you know, the person's not going to receive it from there. So we need another person who can help that person through a crisis. And I'm happy that the county is providing that and looking forward to expanding that as my service as county supervisor.
Thank you very much. Like to respond?
Yes, there needs to be an expansion of our current mobile crisis unit, so that way it's more than just the traditional 9 to 5 hours. In addition, it's partnering with our city. The city of Vallejo did finalize its iHeart program, and we'll be partnering with the Felton Institute to bring more mental health mobile basic needs here. And in addition, we do have Project Hope, which is a court diversion program for those who may be on verge of going to jail, but are in the middle of a mental health crisis as well. And it's not only on the onus of the community to have the resources. Our officers need to know what programs are out there and how to effectively partner with our community as well. Because I think you talked about excessive force. This is when excessive force is needed, is used the most, and it increases if that person is of color. So we have to get that right on the onset and not put the onus on community to know about community programs.
Thank you very much. We have another question from the audience.
I have two questions. First question is, in your roles, we know that it takes a team that really make you successful. So I would like to know, if you are elected, who do you have? Have you selected someone who will work directly with you? And if so, who is that person?
As I said, thank you for the question. Thank you for the question, Elise. As I've said before, I've been district representative for Supervisor Hannigan for the past 11 years. I remember when I came up to the office, I think I was the only male and definitely the only gay guy up there. So it was, different for her to bring someone in there, and it would change the role from just, the classic secretarial and making appointments and things to really being representative for the community, reaching out. After a few years, we hired Josette Lacey, who's right over there, and who is a district representative with me and Supervisor Hannigan on the team. And so I'm committed to continuing with Josette as my partner, just like we've been partners with Aaron Hannigan. And the person who's going to be the new Michael, people say, who's going to be your Michael? I'm like, I'm my Michael. And I'll find someone else who will work well to represent us in Vallejo and to be sure the county is a strong partner with us.
When elected, we'll have 9 months to really sit and create a plan and look at the community, or look with community to see who should be sitting in these roles. I don't have an idea on top of my head, but I know that, one, I'm committed to having someone who is Spanish speaking on staff, and both to live in District 1 and have a relationship with all communities here. I want it to be an open process, so that way that all of our residents feel as if they can apply for the position and be a part of the change. And this is the opportunity. In addition, I want to partner closely with the Willie Atkins program, with APAPA, their internship program, and also with Ser Latino, so that way we are creating a pipeline for our young people in Vallejo to be a part of the office.
So for me, one is I have no one in mind at all, but I have some ideas about what I want. First of all, I think it's really important that I live in Fairfield, so I think it's very important to have somebody that lives in Vallejo that's a part of the team, because you have 2 staff members that's part of the team, and somebody from Benicia. I need people that are actually have shared values, and the shared values is that we will treat people with respect. We want to hear from the community. We want to engage the community. We want to be with the community, locking arms with community members. And so there's a certain value, kind of a customer service orientation that's really important to me. I also want people who have a strong work ethic, because I'm going to work hard. I'll probably be the hardest working supervisor you've ever seen, because I'm already one of the hardest working people as a community leader, just because that's the nature of it is. But in addition to that, I plan on having advisory councils for each of the cities that can advise me and be attending community meetings and giving feedback. And for me, they're part of the team. So the team isn't just me and the 2 people that I hire, but I mentioned to you that I want interns. I want those advisory councils to have people that are engaged and regularly giving me feedback. So the team will be us, and actually all of you will be the team too, because it's not limited to just paid staff.
Thank you, candidates. We have a question from the chat. Oh, is there another question live?
My second question.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
So on your platforms, how do you plan to support small businesses within your districts?
Go ahead.
Hello. All right, this one works. I'd like to support small businesses by supporting small businesses, whether they're restaurants or doing work here in town. It's important to be actually supporting them. When I was chairman of the board of Vallejo Chamber of Commerce in 2005, it was important to me to have the voices of small businesses, not just the big businesses with the big bucks in town, or the big developers flashing around money while they want to do something. Whoa, that was fast. But to support the small businesses and to ensure that there's representation. And that's why when I was chairman of the board of the Chamber of Commerce, I fought for small business representation to be at the table of the board of directors and on everything at the Chamber of Commerce. So I think we need to continue that. It's not just a role of the Chamber of Commerce, but that's my experience, having been there, to support small businesses by supporting small businesses and to make sure everyone has a place at the table, not just those with the fat wallets coming in trying to do something new in our community. Thank you.
Besides spending my dollars at the small business, and one of my favorite ones is Beauty Influence, the Black-owned beauty supply store that's in North Vallejo. It is one of my favorites. But it would be also partnering with our Solano County Economic Development Corporation. Recently, they had their annual breakfast, and although the purpose of the breakfast was to talk about California Forever and Solano together, they had several plans on there, such as the Solano Biz plan. They also had a Sassoon Valley plan. I want to work with Chris, who's the executive director, to specifically have a small business plan for the city of Vallejo and the businesses here. But it will benefit the rest of the county because, again, when Vallejo thrives, the rest of the county would thrive. But in addition to the Solano County Development Corporation, it would be partnering with all of our Chamber of Commerce to make sure that is an inclusive space for our small businesses here, and that the Chamber of Commerce can be a caveat to push some grants and dollars so that small businesses could sustain here in this county.
Okay, so there's several ways to support small businesses. I think first and foremost, there's a small business development center, and they're already doing some of the work. So we need to make sure that people have access to that, and that they're leveraging any of the resources or available, like whether you have a small business coach. In addition to that, there are small business loans, and I think that it's really important that there's access to the small businesses for those loans. So the Economic Development Corporation has some money that they're supposed to give out, small business loans, and we know it takes a lot of money. I own a small business. I've owned a small business full-time since 2007, and that's how I support myself. We need to increase tourism and traffic to both brick and mortar, and some of the ways that we're going to have to do that is to have a bigger draw, and that might be supporting the Sassoon Valley and other things that would attract people here. But in order to do that, we actually have to address the homeless population we have. We have to address the crime issues that we have. And then relatedly, we need to go ahead and increase the economy, which can increase jobs, which can increase money. And then if people are making money, they're living here, and they're going to play here, and they're going to support some of those small businesses, which I think is really great, to support the chambers, the downtown associations, the Main Street associations, and all kinds of small business capacity building is really important. I helped start
We have to stop. We have to stop. Thank you. We have a question from the chat.
We do.
Okay.
I'm going to rephrase the question from the way that it was presented. Solano County, and in particular Vallejo, has a lot of disabled residents on with special needs and that sort of thing. As a candidate, or as a person that would be in a position elected to the county supervisor position, how will you be able to implement or to recommend a program that does not, that provides for greater services for those with disabilities that need more support, more training, and that sort of thing?
would like to take the first?
Let's work on it again. As an elected official sitting on the County Board of Supervisors, how would you and what would you recommend that the county do to provide more support and more training so that there are better programs for people that are in this condition, and also to hold entities accountable, because many of them are misleading in what they suggest that they are able to do?
There it goes. I think listening and leading by example. I mentioned his name as someone who's endorsed me, and he left this quote on my website. It's right out there for anyone to see, and I think it tells some of the story of how I would answer this question. It's from our community member, Sir Christopher Gordon, who wrote on his own, "I believe Michael Wilson will help me to speak up when we see someone being insensitive or discriminatory. Push to include disabled voices in discussions and decision-making on accessibility and inclusion. To build up volunteer work at a local city, community organization for people with disabilities. Explore additional resources to learn how we can all make an impact to help build real equality in building true equity for our city and county." Christopher really inspires me, and that's the standard I want to be held to ensure that we have that equality and equity opportunity for every member of our community. I sit with his mother, and he's always in attendance at our equity subcommittee of the Solano Transit Authority agency, and I've known them for many years before that, but appreciate every opportunity where we can hear all voices, and I look forward to not just setting people with disabilities or one type of disability aside, but engaging all voices in our entire community. So that's how I plan to do it. Thank you.
So I think this is really important work that we need to do and we need to pay attention to. And one of the things that I'm just going to speak to a couple of things that I've been involved in and then expand on that. So first of all, I facilitated a meeting that was called Youth with Autism with the Easter Seals. And the goal around this is that a lot of people that have disabilities actually want to work. They want employment. And so we need to make sure that employers understand the skills and the gifts that they have that they can bring to the work. Out at Travis Air Force Base, there's actually a call center, and people who are visually impaired or completely blind actually work on that call center. It's an amazing group of people, and the problem that they have is actually transportation to and from, and then having more opportunities. So I facilitated older adults and people with disabilities transportation summits and plans and studies. And in all of those cases, a lot of them want to actually work or want access. We need to improve ADA accessibility to buildings. We also need to improve transportation and make sure that our transit drivers and operators are really sensitive. I think things may have improved, but a number of years ago, there were things like they wouldn't even lower the bus for somebody that was in a wheelchair. They just drive on by. So there's a lot of work that we need to do, and I think advocating for people with disabilities is going to be really important, and I will do that because along with seniors and older adults.
Okay.
From my understanding of the question, it is supporting our residents with disabilities, but also supporting those who support them as well. And that would be one, including or listening to our in-home support services workers that work with our folks with disabilities and making sure that they can live and work in the same county. They are some of the lowest paid workers here in this specific county. But in addition, our GVRD, they have a lot of programs that's geared towards our residents who are differently abled. We don't say disability in my family, we say differently abled. And then it will be supporting those programs and making sure to increase their capacity. Also, we have amazing organizations like ARC that work with folks with developmental disabilities and providing them with various services such as like budget, financing, recreational help, And in addition, it is approving access to certain places, because disability is such a broad term. It's more than just a mental disability, but there's also physical disabilities as well. And that is ensuring that, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. I think we have one more question from
the chat.
the chat.
Yeah. So this is for all candidates. How can we better help our residents regarding high PG&E costs?
Great question.
This is a big one. 3 years ago, we installed solar on our roof at our house, and I thought, woo, never see a PG&E bill again. Wow, they've just worse and worse. They found other ways to come at you for some of the bills, and still the gas bill. Switch stuff off to electrical, then it rains nonstop. It is a battle for everyone, and we need to find ways that it's equitable for everyone in our community to be able to have lights and heat and the basic essentials. I feel some sense of privilege that we were able to put solar on the house, but I don't feel that it'd be fair if I'm just pushing costs to everyone else in the community so PG&E can continue to have more money. So we need to work on a solution that they just can't keep increasing their rates. Of course, that's not up to the Board of Supervisors, but that we can find a way to bring that down. But also to increase programs. A friend of mine who's a senior went through a housing check, and they were able to find more efficiencies so that they were spending less. So some of those opportunities are there, and I think the county can continue to push those up.
We have to wrap. Who's going next?
Why y'all had to bring up PG&E? I don't like them either. So I opened my bill and ran out the door. But for PG&E, it is opportunity to partner with some of our, to partner with the California Public Utilities Commission and our local elected officials and community leaders here to see what plan we can create, or what solution we could provide to that department. In addition to that, we do have, again, Season of Sharing here for anyone who need to apply for a Season of Sharing to pay for your PG&E bill. That program is here and will pay up to a certain amount for PG&E. And on the county level, it would be to expand programs. So you have your LIHEAP program, and it's all acronyms, and then you also have programs specifically for veterans, et cetera, and is making sure that our communities are aware of all of these programs.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very challenging question. I mean, a challenging issue, obviously, right? So I was going to also mention the programs to subsidize energy costs, like Season of Sharing. So people need to make sure that they have access to all of those kinds of programs that are available to them. And then any government programs to increase efficiencies, like installing double pane windows or installing insulation, anything like that, that could help. But I think the thing that we have to take a look at, honestly, is those of us who have the good fortune to live in our own home and have the money to put the insulation in and have double pane windows and have walls that don't have gaps in it, you know, we can take some of those steps to increase our efficiency, which means then our electricity costs are going to go down. But those that don't have resources, it's expensive to be poor, folks. And so if you don't have resources and you have poor insulation, you have single paned windows, you have gaps between the doors and the floors, you know, we've got some real challenges to deal with that. And I think that's going to be really tough, because people that have limited resources actually end up paying a disproportionate cost for things like trying to heat a home, just because they're living in a place that maybe the landlord isn't keeping up and isn't taking good care of. So I think it's a complicated issue, but definitely want to make sure people have access to services.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm glad that you brought up the part about the landlords not receiving those messages, because you do have renters that are subjected to paying high PG&E bills because the property owners won't upgrade them to be weatherproofed. Thank you guys very much. We have one last question before we wrap.
Last question. Thank you all for your patience. Have any of you been business owners? And if so, what challenges have you faced and how did you pivot?
Who'd like to start?
Well, I know I'm a business owner here, and I've been a business owner full-time since 2007, and I also owned a consulting practice even when I was an employee of the county, and I did that part-time. So once I went full-time as a business owner, I'm a consultant, and I go to projects. I think one of the things that's really challenging is that you don't really know necessarily when your next paycheck is going to come in, right? So there would be kind of places where I would have a lot of client work, and then there would be gaps in client work, and I used to panic all the time. When COVID hit, that impacted every business, and that was really a very challenging time there. I think one of the ways that we have to pivot is with businesses is just to in part think about, like, so for my example, I do a lot of facilitation, a lot of leadership retreats, a lot of strategic planning. Those are often in person. And so I personally had to pivot using more technology. I was already familiar with a lot of technology, but I used like Miro boards and different technology platforms to try to continue to do some of those same services. For people that are brick and mortar, I know it's been really challenging as people have pivoted to try to sell things online, et cetera. So I've been there, it's tough, and I think one of the things that's challenging is all the government pressures that get put on small business here in California. It's really tough to survive as a small business. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
No, I have not been a small business owner. I am a city and county employee. So I am a government employee, but I am a partner to a small not-for-profit business here. And the ways that I have seen him navigate this is taking his organization and meeting people where they're at. For the longest time, he did not have a brick and mortar and had to really go to the house or go to the client's house in order to provide services there. In addition, was looking outside of the available resources to try to get more dollars to come into the organization, whether it was like grants or loans. And it was partnering with, and one of the things that I admire the most was partnering with other businesses, so that way they created a collective so that they could refer people to each other, they could share resources to push their business forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I've been a business owner, and the hardest day is payday, especially as you grow a business and you grow the revenues and you grow the employees and you grow the length of time it takes your clients to pay you so that you can pay your employees and those type of things. That's the biggest challenge, and it's difficult. And I think taking that experience and bringing it to the county, now that I'm working at the county, it's important to me to realize that a lot of the organizations and nonprofits and community organizations who are being paid by the county can't live by that standard that was so difficult as a small business owner. So small businesses throughout the county working for a large government that has a $1.5 billion annual budget, those small businesses can't be waiting 6, 8, 10 weeks to get paid. So that's what I bring to the government now, saying we cannot sit on the backs of these people who are doing the work for us. We need to make sure that we're not tying them up in bureaucracy and that we're paying them quickly for the work we're doing. And Josette and I are constantly pressing with our auditor controller to make that happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My apologies for having to cut you off. We are at time. Thank you. I would like to thank all three of you for showing up today. Can you please, before we depart, can you tell the people at home who you are, what district you support, and who you're running against?
My name is Cassandra James, and I am running for Solano County Board of Supervisor, the 1st District, Greater Vallejo, and that is Georgia Street to Hidden Brook, the waterfront to Columbus Parkway, and I'm running against the gentleman sitting next to me, Michael Wilson.
Perfect.
My name is Michael Wilson, and I'm running to be the District 1, the #1 county supervisor. I'm not running against Cassandra. We're not running against each other. We didn't get into this race because we hate the other person. Right? I didn't, and I don't think she did either. We are running because we think we're the best person. I think I'm a great choice to be your supervisor from District 1, and excited to be 2 weeks and a day from Election Day. And it's so great this evening to be sitting here with someone running for District 2 supervisor who's a great advocate for Vallejo. I think that strong advocacy is important for all of us. Other supervisors have been advocates for Vallejo, even 3, 4, 5, they still advocate for us. They still know our needs. I'll be excited and humbled to be your District 1 supervisor, and grateful to someone who's spoken so well tonight of advocacy for Vallejo, Dr. Sherlock.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Rochelle Sherlock. I am running for District 2 in Vallejo. That's everything south of Georgia Street. And it also includes Mare Island, so Glen Cove, all of Benicia, Cordelia, Green Valley, and a portion of Fairfield. I am running against an incumbent because we deserve better. We need somebody who's actually going to partner with the community. We need somebody who believes that we should have advisory committees and not vote to oppose them. We need someone who has not only lived experience, but has a tremendous amount of respect for the intelligence and the expertise and the insights that the community has, and recognizes that only through building partnerships can we get anything done, and only by working together are we ever going to accomplish all of our dreams and achieve our dreams that we're all interested in. And so I'm running against Monica Brown, who is not here tonight. And then there's another person named Nora Dazan, who lives in Cordelia, has been very focused just on city issues. Similar to what was said over here, I'm not running against Nora. I am running because I think we need a better supervisor. Absolutely, we need somebody who's engaged and committed and can get stuff done. And our incumbent is not that person.
Well, I want to say that the important part is you showed up. I did show up. You thought enough of us, showed us enough respect to come here in person and have this conversation with us, and that goes far.
I will always show up.
Thank you. I am going to, at this time, turn the mic over to our CDC president, Mr. President Harrell. Thank you. It has been great.
And please, another round of round of applause for Ms. Johnson. We truly appreciate you, Tasha, supporting in this way. I'd like to thank, of course, all of our candidates for being here. District 1 and District 2. This is one of the most important elections we've had in a while. I don't know if people are fully aware of the ramifications of our electoral process this year. We're going to have, within the next year, we'll have a new mayor, we'll have a new supervisor, but not only that, we'll have council members. Of course, there's going to be two more council members besides the mayor here in Vallejo specific, but we're also at a nexus, a challenging point. Police chief, city manager, school superintendent. When you talk about leadership being vacated in all of those positions in the same year, it's a tremendous challenge for anybody. If you think about it from a private business perspective, if a business loses its heads like that, it creates challenges that are unknown, unforeseen. So we all have to be patient as we go about the process, and we all have to be engaged in the election. I want to thank Pastor Danny Jefferson for the use of this facility. Pastor Jefferson is a member of our board, and certainly we were able to use the facility. We were able to use his system for broadcasting on YouTube, and has been a great asset for us. The questions tonight were designed specifically to elicit tangible ideas that support the African American community. As a society, we should all be aware that all ships rise on a rising tide. That's quite apropos, being here right by Mare Island and Vallejo. Our community and communities across this nation rise and fall on the basis of the lives of the most challenged among us. The African American community has been at the forefront of equity and inclusion, and we can only change our collective trajectory towards a better condition for all by collaboration and advocacy. As an organization, the CDC is committed to education and advocacy for all, with a special focus on the African American community. If you would like to become a member of our organization, it's only $10 a year. Please visit our website or the Facebook page and join us. We look forward to working with you. Our next forum will be held on February 28th. It will be a senatorial forum, and we will be publishing information regarding that. February has 29 days this month. So we're not waiting until the last day of the month. We want to thank you all, our viewing public. We want to thank you for joining us in person. We really appreciate it. We hope that the answers that we received and the information that was able to be conveyed by our candidates is such that it gives you a better foundation for casting your vote this upcoming election. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.